Listeners, we're going to get to intros, but before we do that, I am sitting here with Dennis Havrilla. And Dennis, will you tell us something about investing in net lease deals that might surprise us?
Yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. But I think the biggest thing when you're investing in a triple net property is most people don't understand that there's actually zero landlord responsibilities. So you get to own the property with zero landlord responsibilities. And when I say that, I truly mean it. There is the tenant is responsible for their rent, their utilities, the insurance, repairs and maintenance, roof and structure. And then my personal favorite, they also pay for the property tax. So I think that's one of the most mind-blowing things that investors don't truly realize, that this is an actual thing that's out there.
Listeners, welcome to the Source of Commercial Real Estate, where we talk to the experts in non-residential commercial real estate so you can grow your business, find a competitive advantage, and use real estate to live the life that you want. I am your host, Jonathan Hayek. I'm a former public school teacher who found financial freedom through residential real estate investing, and now I invest in commercial properties, particularly small industrial. And today I am talking with Dennis Havrilla with Havrilla Commercial Group. Dennis is the founder of Havrilla Commercial Investment Group. He has a background in athletics, which I am really looking forward to getting into today. He's actively growing his brokerage and his own portfolio. He's growing it nationally, and he specializes in net lease assets. Dennis, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Sitting here in sunny Northern California. Northern California here. It's beautiful out. And it's great to be here with you. It's such a blessing to have the honor of speaking with you today, Jonathan. I'm really interested in sharing with all the listeners today about triple nets and how they are a great asset to invest into, and get a little bit into the background and where I come from and how I got into it.
Dennis, well, why don't we start there with your background? Tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got started in real estate, and what your work looks like today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually, as you mentioned, still playing professional football. At the time, I was playing arena football. So for anybody that doesn't know what arena football is, the Arena Football League, it's indoor football. We play in like basketball and hockey arenas. And it's still professional football. About 90% of those rosters come from the NFL and bounce back and forth. And so we make a good living in arena football, but it was just another avenue. There's so many athletes in professional sports, not enough jobs. So a couple other leagues there to play in, and had an amazing time there. But to answer your question, how I got started in commercial real estate. So I was still playing in the Arena Football League. One of my off seasons, I was training with my best friend, Trevor Davis, who played for the Green Bay Packers for many, many years. And he comes to me one morning, and we're stretching, getting ready for our training session. He's like, "Hey, man, like, I know nobody's calling you right now. You don't have any contracts for this upcoming season. Like, you should get into real estate. Go get your real estate license." I'm like, "Nah, yeah, stubborn athletes were like, nah, we're good at sports. That's what we do." And so probably about a 20-minute conversation, he's like, "Dude, like, you'll be amazing in real estate." And he was talking about just like being a realtor. Like, you're such a people person. Go and sell a bunch of houses. You'll make a bunch of money. And I was like, I don't know if I want to show houses or do any of that. Like, in my head, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like, you know what, man? Like, maybe when the season starts and I'm making money, then I'll like go and get my license. He was like, "No, man, like, you should do it right now. You need to get started." I'm like, "All right, man, because you're telling me that I should, I will. I'll go do it." And 5 seconds later, I get a Venmo from him, a couple $100, like, "Here, go pay for it right now and get started." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I have to." So that night, I signed up for my courses. I screenshotted. I'm like, "Hey, look, bud, I'm doing it. You believe in me, I'm going to get started." So 3 months later, I had my real estate license, and I was actually playing. I did get a contract that year, so I was playing. And my wife and I, we were just looking at job offers. So when the off season came, it's like, okay, well, what's available? And there was this one Craigslist ad that just kept popping up. We're like, what is this? And so it was a gentleman had a picture of his like mansion out here in the Bay Area. He's like, "Come work in a mansion. and earn a salary and commissions in real estate. So I'm like, this seems fake, but I'm gonna put my resume in anyways. Now my resume at the time only had professional football on it, right? So it's like, oh, I've got all these amazing skills, but I've only played quarterback at a high level. And so this guy called me back within minutes of me emailing my resume, and he's like, "Hey, like, you really play quarterback at a professional level? Like, no way. Like, if you could do that and you could lead grown men, you could definitely come and do this. Like, I want to have you in for an interview." So when I got back into town, I went and interviewed with him, and he was this like older Oriental gentleman, kind of looked like Robert Kiyosaki's brother, right? Like literally, and this cool dude. His name's Dan Lam. I gave him my first opportunity in real estate, but all he did was triple net leases. All we sold was um, drugstores and dialysis centers. So when I say drugstores, think about CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aids. And then dialysis centers, we would do a lot of DaVitas and Freseniuses, right? So when I got into it, the first 30 days was just like baptism by fire. He's like, hey, man, I'm half retired, trying to move to Hawaii, and kind of just need someone that I can depend on. So he taught me everything I needed to learn about triple nets. Now I'm used to learning stuff fast. I've been called to teams where it's like, hey, we're going to fly you in Tuesday. We need you starting on Saturday. Learn the whole playbook. Go. Right. So like I'm used to that kind of lifestyle. So it was kind of a match made in heaven at that point. And he offered me a salary. And then he taught me everything I needed to know, how to generate business, how to farm, how to do all these things in brokerage. And so he also owned his own triple nets. And I'm like, man, one day, like, I want to learn this, because when he taught me what it truly meant, and what I said at the beginning of the show, like there's zero landlord responsibilities. So I was just mind blown. Like, this is crazy. There's no way this is a thing. And you could have tenants like CVS and Walgreens and all these big time corporations that are guaranteeing the lease. I got to get these one day. And so, I started off in brokerage, but I also was like, man, I still love playing. I'm young enough. But if I can own these, now I don't have to worry about if I get another contract the next year, and I don't have to go and perform with that chip on my shoulder. Like, man, if I do bad, then they're going to cut me. I can just go out and play because I've got another stream of passive income, truly passive income, that I don't have to worry about. Right. And so that's where it all started for me. My best friend really just threw me into it and was like, go be in real estate. This gentleman, Dan Lamb, taught me a lot of what I needed to know. And then eventually I stepped out on my own and started growing my own brokerage. And at that point, I wanted to learn all sectors of commercial real estate if I was going to, own a brokerage, because I love mentoring and I want to have different specialties within the brokerage, right? I got a multifamily guy, an industrial guy, a retail guy, triple net guy, all these different. But my specialty was always triple nets. And so, first couple years on my own, I was closing every type of deal: church deals, industrial deals, multifamily deals, just to actually get the experience and learn and go through it myself. Um, and so, I have a lot of knowledge now in commercial real estate as a whole, but I do love triple nets myself. That's what I own myself. And I focus on helping people sell their current assets and exchanging into triple net assets. So that's where it all started for me.
Yeah, such a unique and interesting background from pro football and having those really impactful mentors, which I'm going to ask you about in a little bit. But before we get there, will you talk about a little bit more about your journey from pro football to brokerage? And are there any parallels or similarities between the two? Like, is there any way that pro football prepared you for your journey into brokerage and investing?
Yeah, absolutely. Not just in a brokerage and investing, but honestly in life in general. I mean, sports in itself, and to become a very elite athlete and be at the top of the game, it takes a discipline and the right mindset. And so, the disciplines I learned, the systems I learned, how to be a strong individual, how to have a strong mindset, how to deal with adversity in life. I mean, those are all things that I learned through my journey of sports. My journey was not easy in sports. I come from an area um, I come from a high school that was not a great high school. We never got anybody. I went to junior college out of high school to play football instead of getting recruited as everybody else does, right? And so um, I've been doubted my whole life and just having to deal with uh, coaches that never believed in me and just having self belief in myself and understanding that I don't need outside validations to be successful. And I think, that's one thing that I teach in my mentorship is, a mindset shift, because that's where it all starts. Having the right mindset to achieve anything you want in life, it's really valuable. I learned that through my journey of sports. I learned how to be disciplined. I learned how to be consistent. I say this all the time. I'm just a product of hard work consistently, right? I would have never been anywhere without that. So, um, to your question, everything I learned through my journey, my disciplines, my mindset, I apply to every part of life. I apply to be an investor. I apply it to being a businessman. I apply it to being a great husband. I apply it to being a great father. And I truly do, right? I wake up every day and I apply each discipline to every aspect of my life, how to be a great man for others. Like I truly, truly do. And so it's, for to give you some examples, for instance, like to wake up every day and to understand how to grow a brokerage, you really have to understand what it takes to go out and have the discipline to, for instance, like when I used to cold call, I would have to get up every day and I have to make those 50 calls a day, right? Anybody that's been out there cold calling, like, don't give up. You might get zero answers that day, but the next day you have to get up and you have to do it again, right? So like that's one example is I had to be disciplined enough to get up and make my 50 calls every single day, make appointments every single day, go to these appointments every single day. So there's certain sacrifices that you have to put in, but you have to understand if you have a system and you apply it every single day, it will pay off. It might not pay off in a day, it might not pay off in a week, but 3 years down the road, you're like, man, because I did all of this, look where I'm at today, right? So understanding, the right disciplines, the right mindset, finding your system to put in place, and then just continually doing it is something that I learned from sports that I can apply to anything now.
Yeah, I can relate to a lot of what you said, Dennis. I am not even close to an elite athlete, but I do spend a lot of my free time ultra running. And these are long days in the mountains and lots of training involved. And I'm not even close to elite, but there are so many parallels between athletics and high performance in other areas of life, from commitment and showing up when you don't want to, and doing your best when you feel like your tank is empty, and just consistently showing up and doing what you can do. So yeah, just tons of tons of connections there between athletics and really entrepreneurship of
Yes.
nothing's guaranteed, and if you want to perform and you want to have success, you and you alone are responsible for it. And so
Absolutely.
I just love thinking and talking about all those connections. So
Yeah.
Dennis, let's get into net lease investments. I know you own your own deals. You work with clients to help them sell their deals and buy other net leased assets. So, from your perspective, from what you're seeing on the ground, can you give us a 30,000-foot view of what you are experiencing in the marketplace in terms of pricing and cap rates and asset classes? What are you experiencing right now?
Yeah. So uh, it depends on the type of tenant, right? So if you have an investment grade tenant that's like absolutely blowing it out the water, let's take Chick-fil-A or Starbucks or someone like that, that their corporation is so strong, like you're going to see lower cap rates, but the strength of that guarantee is really going to, uh, you know, guide you through your investment. So if you are looking to leverage, if we've got real estate investors out here, we all know what leverage is, right? Put a low amount down, get a loan on it, then you want to make sure that you have the right cap rates on it so that you're still cash flowing, or at least you're breaking even. Now, with triple net investing, you don't have any other expenses besides your mortgage. So doing the math creates a lot more simplicity so that you can understand and guarantee that you're going to be cash flowing. Now, a lot of other asset types, you have to kind of estimate where your returns are going to be, right? And so with a triple net lease, you know exactly what's coming in and exactly how much your mortgage is. And if it's still cash flowing after that, then that's why I call it the holy grail of investing in real estate, because you truly aren't going to have surprises. You're not going to have a tenant calling you and saying, man, I lost my job. Can you spot me on a couple months rent? Like, I really just got to get back on my feet. You have corporations that are guaranteeing this for 10, 15, 20 years, but you don't have to worry about nothing, right? And so, to answer your question, it really just depends on your tenants, and depends on the cap rates compared to pricing. Now, pricing has got a little bit less tight. Um, let's say deals that were 5% are now at 5.5%. In triple net lease deals, it doesn't fluctuate much. With the feds going up and down and every little thing, there is a little fluctuation, but it's not crazy, right? Pricing doesn't change a lot. When you have triple net deals that are backed by corporations, they stay pretty much the same. You go to California, you're going to see 4% cap rates, 4.5% cap rates, but like that is what you're taking home. There is no guessing. Like you might get 4.5. It's like, hey, this is a 4.5%. And this is backed by Chick-fil-A. This is backed by In-N-Out Burger. This is backed by, some of the biggest corporations. Now, if you want, 7-8% returns, maybe you're getting a Burger King that's a franchisee that owns 20 locations, right? So it all kind of depends, and having a triple net mentor really helps you with that, understand the guarantees behind these leases. So, giving you that bird's eye view, it really just depends on what the guarantee of the lease is to see what your risk is and where you can really get a better cap rate. Now, some people want to be a little bit more risky, so they're like, hey, and when I say risky, I mean, it's not that much riskier, but it's better than, like I said, a single family that could or could not lose their job. But let's say it's a franchisee that owns 20 locations or 30 locations, all of his 30 locations are guaranteeing that lease. So let's say that one location doesn't do well that you own. Now he's still on the hook. And in order for him to be off the hook, all of his locations have to go bankrupt or shut down, right? So he's still guaranteeing for 10, 15, 20 years, he's going to pay that lease no matter what, right? And so that's where a lot of the risk goes out. It doesn't matter if your building is not operational. They're not depending on that actual location to pay your rent and all of your expenses. That's why it's such a beautiful asset class to be able to invest in, because there's a higher, there's a higher success rate when it comes to investing, and there's a lot less risk. Now, if you want 20% returns, you're gonna have to, go to a different asset class. But that 20% could be 8% by the end of the year, because your gross margins might look at 20%, but then when you actually net, then what are you getting? And that's where the guessing game is completely thrown out when you look at triple net leasing. And I'm sorry, I just want to add one more thing, but from an investor standpoint, because what COVID just showed us, and I think this is a beautiful, beautiful thing for us to go over. COVID showed us what were not essential businesses. So anything that was essential and is a triple net lease, QSR deals, which are fast food places, right? Quick service restaurant, fast foods, for instance, that had a drive-through, coffee places that had a drive-through, grocery stores, auto stores, daycare centers that were still up and running. Like, these are all essential businesses that were still open and paying rent. Show of hands here for all our listeners, who has residential, who has multifamily, who has all these things that had to go and give rent relief because they could not pay rent. Well, triple nets, that were guaranteed by the corporations, they didn't ask for not 1 month worth of rent relief, and they were still running and they were still paying rent. So, just take that perspective, and then also understand when we're looking at like what the market is today. I myself, and then I mentor my investors into looking at essential businesses. So if we have another global shutdown, who's still paying rent? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up a bunch of good points there. You talked about, making sure that who's guaranteeing that lease.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing who's signing on the dotted line. If you got a Burger King with 20 locations versus a mom and pop with only one location, really, really important to know who's guaranteeing that lease.
Yeah.
And you started talking about some essential businesses. So I'd love to get into your criteria for buying and
Mm-hmm.
how you advise your clients.
Yeah.
We've been talking about some different types of tenants from Chick-fil-A and Starbucks and things like that. So when you think about all of the triple net options that are out there, you could buy a Wendy's in Spokane, Washington, or a Chick-fil-A in Indianapolis or a Dollar General in Topeka.
Yeah.
There's lots of different options. So can you walk me through how you think about this for yourself and on behalf of your clients in making judgments on what makes a good triple net investment?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, and I'm putting myself on the back burner because I'm a mentor at heart. So when I talk to my mentors or mentees, what I like to always do is I like to learn each person. What is it that they like? So when it comes to advising them, I first find out what their hot points are and what matters to them. Some people want a trophy location. Some people don't care about location. Some people want to be in tax-free states. Others don't care, right? Um, so it all depends on who I'm working with right then and there. There is no cookie cutter. Hey, this is where I suggest. Now, if they come to me and they say, "Hey, I don't really have a criteria. What would you do?" Then that's when I show them what I would do. And so what I would do is, again, I think COVID just showed us a beautiful, beautiful thing: is who stayed open, paying rent while the whole world shut down. And that's where I advise them. Now, we have to think about what were essential businesses. I just mentioned a couple: QSR. So any fast food restaurant that you can think of, anything that had a drive through. That could be a coffee as well. Dutch Bros, Starbucks, Pete's, those were all open still, paying rent. Also, grocery stores. Out here on the West Coast, we have Safeway and Albertsons and Vons. On the East Coast, I know there's Publix grocery store, right? So understanding those, as well as drugstores. Drugstores were still open because those were essential businesses, right? CVS, Walgreens. What else? Dialysis centers were still open. So any kind of medical tenant was still open because those were essential businesses, right? People with millions of dollars, they invest in big time hospitals as well. It might be a $90 million purchase, but they're getting a 7% return from a huge corporation like Kaiser, right? Like, they were open during the pandemic. They were helping individuals get over COVID, right? So like, these guys are still paying rent. They're still getting their insurance payments, so they can handle that rent, right? And then also, let's see what other, auto stores. Auto stores were considered essential businesses. So you think of O'Reilly's, AutoZone, Napa Auto Parts. Anything that was auto related was also essential businesses. So I think we just hit on a bunch, but those are all asset classes that I would definitely put my capital into. If you want to talk about what to stay away from, I look at clothing stores. Now, some of these clothing stores are doing a great job, right? You got Kohl's, for instance. They're bringing Sephora in. They're bringing Babies R Us in, right? And so they're pretty much subleasing their space out to everybody else that's wanting to. I mean, they're just thinking about it as well as business people. Like, okay, we can't continue what we've been doing for all these years, so we have to find innovative ways to make sure that we're still paying our landlord on time, right? So clothing stores and let's see, what's some other tenants that were shut down in that time. Malls were shut down, which again are clothing stores, jewelry stores, just office spaces. Obviously everybody hears commercial real estate and all they think about is office space, right? It's just like, oh, commercial, it's only office. You guys are doing bad. That's a great conversation for another time. But any kind of office buildings, even if they're triple nets, right? Look at Irish pubs, for instance. I just sold a pub last year for a gentleman and traded him into a CVS deal. Well, this pub was shut down during COVID, so they couldn't pay their rent. And so there's just a lot of different tenants that you need to look and shift through to understand, are they going to still be open during a global pandemic?
Yeah, really, really important points there. And just another emphasis on the importance of knowing your tenant, that all net lease deals are not necessarily created equal. And just knowing your tenant and doing your due diligence on your tenant is so crucial for these deals. Dennis, I want to get into an important part of your story, and that's mentorship. When we started talking, you led off with these two really powerful stories about how these two people in your life were hugely impactful in getting you into, for your first friend, getting you into real estate, and then your second mentor teaching you everything you know, or close to everything you know, about commercial real estate. And it just makes me think about the incredible impact that mentors can have on our personal lives and our professional lives. So, can you
Absolutely.
talk a little bit about the importance of those mentors and other mentors that have been for you, and then how you're paying that forward and mentoring other people?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think mentorship is the reason why successful people are successful. Put it that way. I don't think that there's one successful person that still does not have a mentor. I still have a mentor today. I still, uh, it could be, it might not be in my full life, but it's certain sections of your life that you need mentors in, right? And so, um, when I mentor people, this is one thing that I hit on a lot and I try to explain, because people are always like, oh, time is money. Well, time is not money, because if I gave you $50 million and was like, hey, but you have to give me 5 years of your life, people would be like, oh, what do you mean? I'm dying 5 years less. But I like to say mentorship is accelerated knowledge, right? Because all the years that I learned what I learned, now you don't have to learn that. You can learn that in, an 8 week course with me, for instance, right? Like I can teach you 8 years of knowledge in 8 weeks. So when we talk about time is money, like you're investing in your time to not have to spend so much time like your mentor did, and now they're giving you all this knowledge, right? I have so much experiences in my life that now I have knowledge. A lot of people say um, wisdom comes with age. Well, wisdom comes with experience. I've got so much experience in my life. I'm only 36 years old, but I have so much experience in my life that I'm able to mentor and teach so many things that maybe even an 80-year-old doesn't even know. And not to say that they don't have all this wisdom, but I have so much wisdom because of all the stories we've touched on, and I like my journey and having to break myself down and learn every little detail of what I know today. It took me many, many, many years to learn that. So the importance of having a mentor is that accelerated knowledge, right? You're investing in yourself so that you can learn what you need to learn to be successful a lot quicker. So now investing into a mentor and saying, hey, I want to pay for your mentorship. Please teach me everything that I need to know in this sector of my life, or just in life in general. It really helps them accelerate into a better version of themselves, into a better investor and a better man, into a better husband, whatever it may be, better father, a brother, son, whatever it may be, daughter, mother. Having mentors in your life can really accelerate you into who you truly want to be. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And whether that's paid or more casual, or a lot of
Yeah.
people have virtual mentors. We can have podcast hosts as mentors, or people on
Absolutely.
YouTube, or authors, or all kinds of people that I have mentors and that don't even know who I am. But yet
Yeah.
they've had a huge impact on my life. And so, yeah, I
Right.
think just, you leading off with those stories about those two people having that huge impact on your professional trajectory, I think was really, really powerful. Dennis, as we get to the tail end of our conversation today, I have just a few more questions. So, first, uh, are there any daily habits or practices that are important to you that have a big impact on either your personal or professional life?
Absolutely. Um, I always, I always try to let people know they need to find what brings them to center every day, right? Like what truly brings them to center every day. Now, me, for instance, I like to do some meditation. I also like to go to the gym every single day. And, a couple of my daily routines really brings me to the best version of myself so that I can attack the rest of my day how I need to, right? So I, on the way to the gym, this is just an example here. Uh, and this is versions of me being the best husband and best father and best man myself. But to give you an example, before 9 a.m., these are all the things I do. I wake up around 5 a.m. and I choose that. I don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. Like I choose to wake up at 5 a.m. I go downstairs. It's very quiet. My family's sleeping. I make breakfast and lunch for my children. Why? Because I want to make my wife's morning a little bit easier. Now, not every morning I get to it, but most mornings I do. And she doesn't ask me to, but I do it because I just want to be a good husband and make her morning a little bit easier, right? But I also get to then do something for my children every single day, right? And so I like to do that, leave them a little note, whether it's in their lunch or at their breakfast table, because they know dad loves them, right? I'm also simultaneously showing my children what it looks like to be a good man, whether it's showing my daughter what a good man looks like every single day, or my son what a good man looks like every single day, right? I also then get myself ready on the way to the gym. Takes me about 10 minutes to get there. I recite my 13 affirmations that I wrote for myself 3 times. It takes me about 10 minutes to get through it. So instead of listening to some music or doing something else, like I get myself going with my affirmations. I get to the gym. In the gym, I then sit in the sauna for 12 minutes. I'm reading a book while I'm doing that. Then I go and work out for about an hour. When I work out, it puts me into a mental shift and a mental mindset for the rest of the day. It just makes me feel good inside. Now, I'm not saying this does this for everybody, but find what does it for you. Then I go back in the sauna, I read for 12 more minutes, all before 9 o'clock. Then I shower, get on with my day. Right? So those are just little things that I do consistently every day. They're super simple, but I am the most consistent person you might meet. Not everybody can do something consistently for 30 days. I was just speaking in Dubai and I asked the crowd, I said, hey, like, who thinks that it's easy enough to just wake up for the next 30 days and say the words thank you? Everybody raised their hand. I said, well, by tomorrow, half of you won't even do it. In 2 weeks, the other half won't even do it. There might be one or two people in this room that actually do that for 30 days. Because when you try to do something for 30 days, it's a little bit harder than you think. But the ones that truly want it will go and do it. And what I say is, if you want to create these daily habits and there's something that you're trying to be successful at, if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find the excuse. And most people find the excuse. But if it's really important to you and you want to achieve something every day, whether it's a daily habit or it's investing or whatever it is, you'll find the way. If not, you'll find the excuse, right?
Dennis, are there any books or podcasts that have been especially impactful or influential to you?
I love Robert Kiyosaki. It was not Rich Dad Poor Dad, even though I love that one, but it was more the cash flow quadrant. The cash flow quadrant to me really made me understand how to have the right mindset about money, right? And so I think that was a really impactful book for me. The next one is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and then Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Those three books, super impactful in my life. I took so much out of them. I truly listen to the words they're saying, and the way I take in knowledge and really learn how to apply it is really invaluable to me. But those three books to me, The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy, Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, and then Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Amazing, amazing books in my life.
Great. And finally, I know you mentioned that you have a book coming out. I'd love to hear more about that. And if listeners want to connect with you, where can they learn more about the book and learn more about you?
Yeah, so my book should be officially out by the end of this week. It is called The Triple Net Playbook. It explains more in depth about things we talked about today. Understanding different tenants, right? That's one of the chapters is investment grade compared to non-investment grade. So it really goes into depth about some of that stuff and understanding. Even someone that's not investment grade could be a great tenant. For instance, there's Chick-fil-A that's privately owned. So they can't even get an investment grade, but they're still an amazing tenant. But yeah, so Triple Net Playbook, look out for it. It will be, I'll send it out on my Instagram, which is D Havrilla and the number 4. If you find me on Instagram, that's probably the best way to connect with me right now. Once we launch the book, there will be more ways for you to click and get the book. We're going to be releasing it, and it will be a free book for the first 30 days. So we'll be releasing that, and people can go on there and get the book and then connect with me there. We'll have a way to connect with me and work with me as well. But that, I would say the Instagram right now is probably the best way to get a hold of me. I'm always on there. I answer DMs. You can talk to me personally through that, and we can connect there.
Dennis, this has been a really interesting and inspiring conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
And Jonathan, thank you so much for having me on. I feel very honored and blessed to be here with you and your audience today. Thank you so much to all the listeners for being here.
Listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, reach out to either one of us. We love talking about real estate, and we would love to connect with you. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, take care.